Hello and welcome to an emergency mini video Access Vikings episode. I'm Emily Leiker. This is Ben Goessling. We're coming to you live from TCO Performance Center in Eagan, where just about 45 minutes ago now, Kevin O'Connell announced that JJ McCarthy is expected to miss at least this weekend's game against the Bengals with an ankle sprain that he suffered in last night's loss to the Falcons. Ben, he kind of buried this at the end of a list of other injuries that we had already known about last night. Just what is the initial reaction to the injury and the news that McCarthy's going to be out?
Yeah, I mean, it's a blow for the Vikings. The question came up of, was this actually about his performance? No, this was not about his performance. You go and watch the play. It's a third quarter scramble to 2nd and 20. McCarthy scrambles to the left, goes out of bounds around the Vikings sideline. A lot of, I posted the video on social media, and the immediate comments were it's a hip drop tackle. And I have to say I agree with the commenters on this one. Caden Ellis takes him out of bounds, kind of comes down. That action that we've seen the NFL say they want to get rid of, where you basically yank a guy down and drop your hip onto his lower legs. O'Connell said he got rolled up. He did not mention hip drop tackle with it, but it will be interesting to see if Caden Ellis gets fined for that at the end of the week. We will find out that information on Saturday. Did not incur a flag on the field, which would have been a big moment for the Vikings because it would have helped them get a first down. But McCarthy gets it taped up, stays in the game. Actually had to get it taped on the sideline because there were so many people in the medical tent, O'Connell told us. But stayed in. Of course, adrenaline helps him get through it. And then today he's a lot more sore. I don't think this is a good thing. I think they need to, they are all in with him. They are invested in his development, and this will cost them time to help continue that progression for him.
Well, and KO said just that he's going to be out this week. They anticipate him being out this week. There are reports out there now that it's a high ankle sprain, that it's 2 to 6 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks that he could be out. Obviously, a high ankle sprain is more serious typically than just a normal ankle sprain. Now you're looking at Carson Wentz taking over in maybe a very key stretch of this season where they go to Europe for back-to-back games and then they return home, have that bye, and then go into a stretch that includes the Eagles, the Chargers, the Lions, the Ravens, these teams that we were talking about with McCarthy being the quarterback is, okay, these are difficult teams to face. Now it's either that Carson Wentz is going to be facing them or McCarthy comes back from injury and is immediately thrown back in to play these teams.
Yeah, I mean, I would think you're looking at, even if it's not injury reserve, you're probably looking at out on Sunday. I would think good chance he's out when they make the trip to Europe, and then you have the bye week, and then you come back to face the Eagles right out of the bye. So yes, it's either Carson Wentz facing his old team with all new faces from the time that he was there 5 years ago, or it's McCarthy coming back to face the world champions at home in that scenario. So yeah, not good for the Vikings either way. And I think, we've just seen it, whether it's the injury or the fact that he wasn't going to start last year anyway, or the fact that he was in an offense that didn't throw the ball a lot in college. He just needs reps. He needs practice. He needs game reps. He has not had very many of those. And this now means you're probably waiting at least a week, maybe more, for him to get more of those.
How do we feel like Wentz is going to be able to handle stepping in here? He's only been in this facility for 3 weeks now, just about. Like he knows some of the things about this system. Kevin O'Connell did say today that he thinks Wentz has picked up a lot of that and will be able to handle the same amount of play calls and things of that nature that JJ does. But he's new here, and there's a lot of moving pieces to this offense.
Yeah, there are. And the fact that he played a year with the Rams in 2023, I think was part of what attracted the Vikings to him, that there was some crossover with this offense. Josh McCown has been on a roster with Carson Wentz in the past. He was his backup in Philadelphia, so he'll have a better sense of what Wentz can handle. Kevin O'Connell said Carson Wentz did get most of the reps on Thursday last week, and kind of a serendipitous bounce for the Vikings when JJ McCarthy leaves to be with his fiancee as she's giving birth to the couple's son. Carson Wentz got that day of practice. Kevin O'Connell said it was a good day of work. So he has had a little bit of first team work here, but it's not a lot. I mean, it's not enough to make up for the time that he hasn't been here. So there is going to be a little bit of a crash course. We've seen them do this before. Saw it with Josh Dobbs, obviously a couple of years ago, where they win the first game when Josh Dobbs had come into the building. So it's not quite that dire, but you're going to probably see, I would expect to see some no huddle, so that Kevin O'Connell can be in Carson Wentz's ear at times. I would expect to see a lot of concepts that are familiar to him from his time with the Rams. You're probably trying to pare down the menu a little bit to make it as comfortable for him as possible. But yeah, it's not something the Vikings wanted to have to deal with, even if Carson Wentz is a guy that has enough experience to handle the role. They didn't want to do this. They wanted J.J. McCarthy to continue to be the guy, and he will be again, but this is going to keep him out, I would think, at least a week. My bet would be probably a little longer than a week.
This also means that Max Brosmer, who's been the emergency third QB, is now the backup, could go in if something happened to Wentz. That's obviously an interesting situation because Max is also young. He's older than J.J. McCarthy, but he is a rookie this year, was an undrafted free agent out of Minnesota, was the preseason darling. I think everyone would agree on that. So that's just, it's an interesting situation with the quarterbacks. Then you double in, we'll talk about this since we're already here and chatting, but a handful of other offensive injuries to key players. Center Ryan Kelly's in the concussion protocol. Backup left tackle Justin Skule is in the concussion protocol. Aaron Jones, they're still evaluating with a hamstring injury. There's a lot of things piling up here early that now when you add the quarterback injury on top, is it a red alarm yet for this offense?
I mean, there's a lot going on right now, and then you add all the defensive injuries to it as well. Right. I mean, you hear them talk a lot about this, with the culture stuff. This is where it gets tested, and if everybody is kind of looking for the exits on a sinking ship versus saying, let's try to get this thing figured out. So this is the type of moment that they have to respond to and prove that those things are going to be beneficial in the long term, because this really is where the adversity kind of reveals what you're made of. And I think a lot of this is going to be very difficult for them. If they don't have Ryan Kelly, you're talking about Carson Wentz playing with Michael Juergens, who got his first NFL action on Sunday night. You're talking about, we'll see on Christian Darrisaw. Otherwise, if it's Justin Skule in the concussion protocol, you're talking about Walter Rouse again. There's Jordan Mason probably gets leaned on a little more heavily if Aaron Jones is in the situation where he's not playing because of a hamstring. And then you have all the defensive injuries: Van Ginkel, Harrison Smith, Jeff Okudah. Still a lot for the Vikings to be dealing with through 2 weeks. And this tends to go this way sometimes in the NFL, where it just feels like you're taking it from every single side. And there's a lot of that feeling in this building right now, I think.
And a lot of quarterback injuries league-wide.
Yeah.
We can touch on just a moment. Obviously, Joe Burrow, the Bengals starting quarterback, is also going to be out this weekend when they come to town. It'll be Jake Browning filling in there. But Jaden Daniels was also a quarterback injury that was announced this morning. So there's a lot of shakeups happening early in the NFL this year, which will be interesting to see, I think, especially that mid-season portion, how that plays out. We will have more updates later in the week. We did not really catch any players in the locker room today. It was a slower day up there, but we'll be in there again on Wednesday. I'm sure we'll get to talk to some guys then. I'm sure we'll get to talk to Wentz then. We will be back with that update and more on how the Vikings are preparing for the Bengals without J.J. McCarthy.